Today, I would review the equivalent circuit of a transformer when it is viewed from primary windings point of view. This can help in making calculations quickly for the input side, which is the primary side. I have shown you the so-called conventional equivalent circuit already in the previous lectures for both lossless and lossy transformers. For a lossless transformer, it was very simple equivalent circuit. The primary had no losses, no inductance, nothing. So the applied voltage primary became the EMF in the primary. And same thing on the secondary. The EMF generated in the secondary became the secondary voltage available across the secondary winding. The load is assumed to be a complex value in general. The turns ratio is NP divided by NS, where NP and NS are the number of turns in primary and secondary. So for the sake of completeness, I have given explanations for all these symbols once again. Okay. One thing you have to remember that for lossless case, EMF and actual voltage are same on both sides. But for lossy case, that will not be the same. That's one essential point to be kept in mind when making calculations. Okay. Again, well-known things being repeated. VP divided by Vs is same as EP divided by ES, which is same as IS divided by IP, which is same as NP divided by NS, which is the turns ratio. Okay. Load in general will have a real part, which I am calling RL, and an imaginary part, which I am calling XL. Now, because of the lossless nature, these two equations, 3 and 4, apply. We have already derived these formulas for EP and ES, RMS values. Okay. Pi multiplied by square root of 2 multiplied by frequency of operation multiplied by number of turns in that winding multiplied by peak value of the magnetic flux going through the core of the transformer. This equation is identical for both the windings. The only difference is number of turns changes depending on the winding. The peak value of magnetic flux can also be written as flux density peak value multiplied by area of cross section of the core. So that, sorry, this page has been repeated. That brings you to these equations. Pi multiplied by square root of 2 becomes 4.4429 approximately. Okay. In many books, they simply say 4.44 or 4.443, which is fine. You have to be very clear about the units. EP and ES are in volts, F is in hertz or cycles per second. NP and NS have no units. BM is in Webers per meter square, which is also known as Tesla, TESLA. 1 Tesla is 1 Weber per meter square. And area is always in meter square. Now the load ZL when transformed to the primary side, we have already shown it gets multiplied by a square, the turns ratio squared. So it becomes a square ZL if seen from the primary side. Proof is there. I've already given it to you in the past. You can go through it once again if necessary. Hence, the equivalent circuit for lossless transformer seen from the primary side is quite simple. Vp and a square ZL. That's it. Obviously, IP can be calculated directly from here by using Ohm's law. Vp divided by a square ZL. So for lossless case, it's not a big issue. But for a lossy case, this can give very interesting simplifications. For a lossy transformer, a lot of practical factors have to be brought in. First of all, the lossless transformer is in the middle, shown within the rectangle, where I am showing ideal transformer with EP and ES as EMFs. Dot convention is by default having two dots on the top. Now the primary winding has resistance and inductance. They are being captured by putting RP and LP in series with the primary winding. So VP and EP will not be the same anymore. The core loss is approximately described by putting a parallel circuit on the primary side after RP and LP generally. This has two components. R0 is the core loss resistance, which actually is the heat generated in the core. It captures the heat generated in the core. And X0 is the magnetizing reactance in the core, which helps in mutual coupling between primary and secondary. These factors are given to you. R0, X0, RP, LP, and on the secondary side, LS and RS. Everything is given to you for a given transformer. Okay. On the secondary side, secondary windings inductance is LS, its resistance is RS. Normally, LS and RS are relatively small compared to LP and R, but you never know. There may be special cases when that may not apply. Again, the meanings of various terms. Okay. Now, how does this simply? Oh, by the way, yeah, let me talk about currents. Some part of the input primary current is diverted to the core to get the core going. It is being denoted in the equivalent circuit by I phi, which is the magnetizing current for the core. This will be there even if there is no load. Even if ZL is not there on the output side, I phi would still be consumed. Even at no load, transformer draws some current to keep the core in operation. I phi is broken into two currents, IW, which is the one going through R0, and I mu, which is the one going through X0. These are 90-degree out of phase, these two currents, approximately. So this is what is captured in the document here. I phi will be summation of IW and I mu, obviously. And in general, these are all complex numbers. So you have to do phasor operations. Now on the primary side, if we want to view everything from the primary side, what will happen is ZL will get to primary side and will become A square ZL. RS would become A square RS. LS would become, actually LS will be represented by an equivalent reactance, XS, which will be 2 pi F LS. A square of that will be reflected on the primary side. So that's what I'm showing. when the equivalent circuit is redrawn, viewed from the primary side, referred to the primary side. Okay. This helps in calculating IP quickly for a given VP. XP is 2 pi FLP. If inductance is given in the primary, then you multiply it by 2 pi F to get XP. And same thing in the secondary. Okay. Now suppose the core loss was not too high. That can happen in many situations. In that case, you can completely forget the parallel circuit in the middle. Then the equivalent circuit becomes even more simple. Oh, by the way, yeah, core also may be specified in terms of inductance rather than reactance for magnetization. So in that case, you have to multiply the inductance L0 by 2 pi F to get the reactance. Oh yeah, in many books you'll see that instead of R0 and X0, they use symbols like RC and XC or RM or XM, which is fine. I'm calling it RO and XO because it's a no load situation in which this circuit would continue to operate. So I'm using O symbol to signify that it's a no load situation where this circuit would still be doing something. Anyway, so for a lossless, for a core which has very small losses, the equivalent circuit becomes even simpler. Primary winding impedance can be written as Rp plus JXP, and that in series with the secondary windings impedance multiplied by A square. I'm calling it ZS with a prime sign on it. Okay. Then you sum up all the impedances and divide the value of Vp by the total impedance in the circuit to calculate the IP going into the transformer. There is a mistake in equation 17. It should be Vp divided by Z equivalent plus A square ZL. I'll correct it when I send you the document. Z equivalent is the value of Zp plus A square Zs. We'll be doing numerical problems soon. You don't have to remember any of these equations. They are essentially all using basic circuit theory, Ohm's law, Kirchhoff's law. Now let's look at some problems. If a 500 kVA, remember the nameplate of the transformer has this information, kVA, the frequency of operation, as well as primary and secondary voltages. That much info is always there on the nameplate of the transformer. Power factor is never specified because it is going to depend on the load that you would apply to the secondary. Now this problem is not talking about primary and secondary voltages. It is only interested in kVA rating and the frequency of operation. The rated kVA is 500 and rated frequency is 200 Hertz. Now they are asking you if this transformer is forced to work at 50 hertz, what will happen to the kVA rating? Will it still be 500 or would it be different? kVA essentially is the product of maximum voltage and current that you can get from the transformer. And they are approximately the same values on both sides, assuming losses are small. You know that the EMF, if you go back to the equation for EMF in both primary and secondary windings, this equation, EMF is proportional to the frequency, whether you talk about primary winding or secondary winding. So if frequency goes down by a factor of 4 in this problem, EMF will also go down approximately by a factor of 4. And assuming that losses are small, the values of voltage will also go down by a factor of 4 on both primary and secondary side. Assuming that same current is being drawn, the kVA rating will also drop by a factor of 4. Volts multiplied by ampere would also go down by a factor of 4. So the new kVA rating will be 500 divided by 4, 125. The question can be twisted in the other direction also. Suppose this rating were at 50 hertz and then you operate the transformer at 200 hertz. What will happen? The rating should go up by a factor of 4, but you have to be careful whether the windings are sufficiently thick to handle that. That's the practical side of the story. Because the wires that you use have diameters based on expected maximum currents under normal conditions. Under abnormal conditions, if the voltages are high and currents also go up, then you have to be careful. The wires might get too heated and may even get damaged. But theory says that, yeah, if it is the other way around, then kVA will go up by a factor of 4. That's for sure. Okay. Next problem. The efficiency of a 100 kVA transformer is 98%, 0.98. It is power efficiency. By default, we always talk power efficiency. It is 98% at full load as well as at half load. When we say full load, we mean the recommended secondary current is what we are drawing. And when we say half load, we mean 50% of that current is being drawn from the secondary. I'm talking magnitudes. Okay. So full load means recommended full secondary current is being drawn. And even at half load, the efficiency remains the same. Calculate the full load copper loss, the iron loss, and the half load copper loss. Now, one thing I pointed out last time, and I'm reminding you again, that iron loss does not change much whether you are drawing this amount of current from secondary or that amount of current from secondary. Iron loss is more or less independent of the currents in primary and secondary windings. Copper loss, however, changes. It is going to vary with the square of the current. If current goes up by a factor of 2, the loss will go up by a factor of 4 in both primary and secondary. Anyway, so keep that in mind and let's look at the basic definition of efficiency at full load. It's P out by P in full load conditions, which means P out divided by P in minus P loss, right? It can also be written as P out divided by P out plus losses. Conservation of power. Output power divided by output plus loss power. That is also another way of putting the same thing. So 0.98, we are talking full load right now. At full load, 0.98 should be P out divided by P out plus P copper full load plus P iron, which is constant with load. Okay. So if you solve this equation, you get the value of P iron plus PCFL. Everything is in kilowatts in this equation. Okay. Because yeah, it's 100 kVA transformer. We are assuming power factor to be 1. So we are assuming that output power is same as 100 kilowatt. If nothing is given about power factor, you assume it to be 1. This is a golden rule in this course. If something is not given, you assume it's not there from the practical point of view. Okay. By default, power factor is 1 always, unless you are told clearly that power factor is this value. So PCFL plus P iron turns out to be, you can check my calculations. Based on full load information, we get this value as 2.0408 kilowatts approximately. Now at half load, efficiency is again 0.98. But now you will write 50 instead of 100 because you are talking half load. Assuming same voltage in the secondary, the current has gone down by 50%. So kVA or power would also go down by 50%. So instead of 100 on the top, P out now is not 100 but 50 watt in the second case. And other thing is that the losses will contain now P iron plus PC half load. I hope you can read it clearly. I mean half load here, PCHL. And efficiency is again 0.98. So we solve this equation. We get P iron plus PC half load equal to 1.0204 watts. Sorry, kilowatts. So you have got two equations. One tells you P iron plus full load copper loss. Other one tells you P iron plus full load, half load copper loss. They want all the losses. 3 losses are there and only 2 equations are there. We need one more equation. What are the 3 losses? P iron, PCFL and PCHL. The third equation is simply obtained by knowing that at half load, the copper loss will be 1/4 of the full load value. IP square multiplied by RP plus IS square multiplied by RS. So if the current goes down by 50%, the losses will go down by half, go down by 2 square. Yeah, if at full load you have some losses, at half load there will be that loss divided by 4. So PCFL is 4 times PCHL. That's the third equation. Now you solve these 3 equations. I have subtracted equation 2 from equation 1 because P iron is common in both the equations. So I get PCFL minus PCHL equal to 1.0204 watt. And then I know that PCHL is 4 times, PCFL divided by 4. So I put that here. I get PCFL, full load copper loss value, 1.3605 kilowatt. Half load copper loss will be 1/4 of this. And once you know these two, you can use any of the equations to get the iron loss. So the three things they wanted have been figured out. Okay. Now, third problem. A transformer is working at full load and its efficiency is maximum. Please remember, we have proven in the past that for maximum efficiency, iron loss and copper loss are equal to each other. And here iron loss is given to you, 1000 watts. So copper loss also has to be 1000 watts. But that is at full load. At half load, copper loss will be 1/4 of 1000 watts. PCFL equal to P iron when eta is maximum. So from there we infer that PCFL is 1 kilowatt and they want PCHL. So you simply divide 1 kilowatt by 4 to get PCHL. Simple problem, not much calculation required. Okay, one more. A 2 kVA transformer has iron loss equal to 150 watt and full load copper loss equal to 250 watt. Obviously, it is not operating at maximum efficiency because these two losses are not equal to each other. So they are asking the maximum efficiency will occur when the total loss is how much? Iron loss doesn't change, okay? It is copper loss that changes. So maximum efficiency will be obtained when copper loss will become equal to iron loss, which means copper loss will be 150 watts at maximum efficiency. So the total loss will be 150 watt plus 150. I think that should be the answer. Yeah, 300 watts is the total loss for maximum efficiency. These are kind of conceptual questions. They don't require much calculation. When you are going to be given multiple choice questions, not in this quiz, of course, transformers are not included, so don't worry. But in the exam, I'm saying these kind of things can be expected. Minimum calculation, but your understanding must be correct. Okay, the last one, almost the last one. A 15 kVA 2400 240. So that means primary voltage is 2400 volts, secondary voltage is 240 volts. Turns ratio is 10. It is a step down transformer, right? Here I think power factor is given, so we will not assume it to be 1. Let's see. 15 kVA is the rating, 60 hertz is the frequency of operation. I guess the problem pertains to United States, where 60 hertz is generated, not 50 hertz. Now you are given primary resistance Rp as 2.5 ohm, secondary resistance Rs as 0.025 ohm. It's quite small compared to primary resistance. Primary inductance is also given as 18.57 millihenry. Secondary inductance is given as 185.68 microhenry. Core losses are negligible. Okay, so at least in the equivalent circuit, the parallel circuit can be ignored. The transformer is supplying a 10 kilowatt 0.8 power factor lagging load. Power factor in the load is not 1 anymore. And it's a lagging power factor. That means current in the load is lagging the voltage, that means it is predominantly inductive load. Inductance predominates in the load compared to capacitance. And resistive part is there, of course. At rated voltage, that means 240 volt in the secondary. Assuming the output voltage, that is Vs, as the reference voltage, draw the equivalent circuit of the transformer, refer to the primary. Primary, they are saying HV, high voltage side. 2400 volt is higher than 240 volt. So that is why HV and LV are commonly used terms to describe the windings. Sometimes they don't use primary and secondary. They say high HV and LV side. Now look at the solution carefully. Load has a lagging power factor. So ZL has to be RL plus JXL type. It will be plus JXL, not minus J. Okay. Phi L, cos of phi L is 0.8. So you can calculate inverse of that. You should get 36.87 degrees almost. The power factor angle is 36.87 degrees. Okay. Now, the power being consumed, real part is 10 kilowatt, which means 10,000 watt. And it should be magnitude of secondary voltage multiplied by magnitude of secondary current multiplied by cos phi L. We have seen this in several previous examples also. So that gives you magnitude of Vs multiplied by magnitude of Is as 12500 watts. And you know magnitude of Vs as 240 volt, it is given. So from there you can calculate magnitude of secondary. Okay. And the angle of secondary current is going to be minus of phi L. It's a lagging power factor. So minus sign will come. So the complex value of current is what magnitude you calculated followed by the angle minus 36.87 degrees. What do they want? Oh, they want the circuit to be drawn, equivalent circuit. Fine. A is 10, that's obvious, right? XP has to be calculated. They have given you, let me go back. Yeah, primary winding has inductance 18.57 millihenry. So you multiply this value by 2 pi f. F is 60 hertz. I've done that here. 2 pi multiplied by 60 gives you 120 pi multiplied by 18.5 into 10 to the power minus 3. That gives you around 7 ohm. And XS also has to be calculated. Sorry. 185.68 microhenry is the inductance. So I put that back. One minute. Oh, sorry, I went ahead. Yeah. XS is calculated here. 2 pi f ls. It turns out to be 0.07 ohm almost. So in the equivalent circuit, you will show primary core losses are 0. So ignore the parallel part completely. You will show RP, which is given as 2.5 ohm. JXP is the reactance, is the impedance of the inductance. So it is almost J7 ohm. Then A square RS. Don't forget A square in transferring RS from secondary to primary. RS, the real value is, just a minute, I think it was 0.025 ohm. Let me double check. Yeah, 0.025 ohm. So I multiply that by A square. A is 10, so A square is 100. Okay. So 0.025 multiplied by 100 gives you 2.5 ohm. And similarly, 0.07 ohm that you got for excess will also get multiplied by 100. It will become J7 ohm. And ZL is there anyway, whatever it is. So the equivalent circuit that you get is this. One series resistance to signify the losses in the primary, then the inductance of the primary, which has been converted to equivalent impedance value. Then the secondary resistance transferred to primary, and then the secondary inductance converted to reactance and transferred to primary. You can calculate ZL actually because you know that the applied voltage in the secondary is 240 volts, and we will assume it to be a reference voltage that is given to us in the problem. So we will assume that it has zero phase angle. That divided by IS value will give you the impedance. Check my calculations. Although they are not asking for it, but if necessary, these calculations can be done. Now, what you do is, if you want to calculate the total IP, you can sum up everything in this series circuit. RP plus RS and JXP plus JXS. I've not done the calculation, you can do it yourself. And ZL will be there anyway, which would also actually be A square times the actual ZL. So I'm calling it ZL prime. Primary current now can be calculated using Vp divided by Z equivalent plus ZL. Okay. Now actually they want you to do the calculation. I think we are running out of time. I'll quickly go through these calculations. You can double check when you get the notes. IS and VS are already, same transformer is being considered in this problem. But now they want actual calculations based on the equivalent circuit that we have drawn here. Input current, that is primary current. Okay. Now for that, you first have to figure out the secondary current, which we know, right? We have already done this calculation, 52.083. Let me see. Did I make a mistake in past? 1 minute. Sorry, yeah. Actually, yeah. IS was not 5.2083. It is actually multiplied by 10. If you see carefully at the end, it is 52.083 amperes. That is the secondary current magnitude. I had made a mistake, so I have multiplied the result by 10 at the end. So secondary current calculated from the previous problem is 52 point something, and the angle is of course well known. Okay. So primary current is very easy to figure out using the turns ratio. But how about the secondary EMF? Using Kirchhoff's voltage law, you write ES equal to VS plus IS multiplied by RS plus JXS. I'm not referring to primary, I'm looking at secondary itself. And doing those calculations, from there you can figure out the value of ES. You need ES because you want to figure out EP. And from EP, you want to figure out VP. VP will not be exactly 2400 volt. It will be slightly different. That is the main problem. Anyway, ES value, you can double check my calculations, turns out to be 243.23 volts, and angle is almost zero because losses are not too high in the secondary. You multiply that by 10 to get the primary EMF, 2432.2, so 0.3 volts, 0 degree phase shift. And similarly, IP will be IS divided by 10. So you get 5.2083 and the same angle. Now on the primary side, you know EP, you know IP. So you write this equation, Vp equal to Ep plus Ip multiplied by Rp plus JXP. And you plug in the values. I'll double check my calculations before I send you the document. I think I'm okay. So you get 2464.67 volts with 0 degrees. That is the primary voltage, not 2400 volt, which is the recommended value. Primary actually is operating at a voltage slightly higher than the recommended value because of the way the load is connected. So primary voltage is known, primary current is known, and primary power factor will be simply cos of the angle between Vp and Ip, which is almost the same as the angle of the load. So input power factor is 0.8. Even if you cannot do these calculations in detail, at least be aware that equivalent circuit is helping you in figuring out all this. The last problem, which is relatively easy mathematically, just 2 more minutes, okay? In the previous 2 problems, whatever transformer we have considered, for that transformer, you calculate the power efficiency and the voltage regulation. Power efficiency is output power divided by input power. Output power is 10,000 watt. We have seen it already. Input power will be magnitude of Vp, magnitude of Ip, and cos of Ip. We have calculated magnitude of Vp as 2464 point something. Magnitude of Ip as 5.2083. And angle is 36.87 degrees. So plug in all those values. You get input power as 10269.39 watts. Take the ratio of output and input power and multiply by 100, you get the efficiency, which is almost 97.4%. How about the voltage regulation? I told you that the basic definition is no load secondary voltage minus full load secondary voltage, magnitudes, both. Magnitude of no load secondary voltage minus magnitude of full load secondary voltage divided by magnitude of full load secondary voltage, and the entire thing multiplied by 100. At no load, obviously, the full ES would appear at the output. Because no current will flow in the secondary, ES will be same as VS. So at no load, the output voltage magnitude will be simply the magnitude of ES, which is 243.23. Okay, volts. And at full load, we know it is 240 volts. So take the difference, divide it by the full load voltage magnitude, and multiply the result by 100 to get the answer in percent. I told you, ideally voltage regulation should be 0%. We want the same voltage no matter what the load is. In reality, something like 5% or 10% at the worst case may be allowed, depending on practical needs. But as low as possible is the goal for the value of voltage